Hey everybody, I'm Sean Hastings, half of the Cinema Filibuster. John Sulzbach, the other half of the Cinema Filibuster, and I have just finished a podcast about Avengers Age of Ultron. We're putting this little intro into it, so a lot of you people won't be confused about the fact that it's just stills of John and I, and our lips aren't moving. Well, that's why it's a podcast and not a vlog. But you guys are smart, you know that. So kick back, get something to drink, and listen to John and I prattle on about a movie that we liked. Take it easy.
And now, your hosts, Sean Hastings, an independent filmmaker and screenwriter extraordinaire, Jonathan Sulzbach, a writer, graphic designer, and voice actor. Together, these fine fellows form Cinema Filibuster. And welcome to Cinema Filibuster. I'm Jonathan Sulzbach.
And I'm Sean Hastings.
And today we are following up on our previous podcast, which was the 2015 movie forecast. And the Avengers Age of Ultron is the topic of discussion for today.
Oh, and it has been for the last 20 minutes, even though we've been trying not to, because everything you hear on this podcast, ladies and germs, is going to be our first impressions. We don't know what either of us think, and this is going to be you're hearing it for the first time, just like we are.
So we both saw this last night.
We did.
Did you see yours in 3D?
I did, in fact, see it in 3D.
I saw mine in 3D as well. Gosh, first impressions. You walk out of the theater after all this anticipation of the Avengers sequel, and were you glowing? Were you weeping?
Let's put it this way. There is a difference between the perception and the reality. Because the perception is based on the reality of it, or the formula, the numbers, as it were, are concrete. They cannot be affected by perception, but perception is affected by memory. So I will come out of it saying this: if the first Avengers was an 8-star, or was a 4-star film, this movie, Avengers 2: Age of Ultron, is a 4.3-star film.
0.3.
0.3. It was better than the original, but only slightly. Which means the perception of it will be it's not as good. Because people were astounded by the first one, and when you get the same thing again, even though it's as good, or even, like I said, just a soupçon better, it's perceived as not as good because everybody was expecting twice as good. I mean, you have to admit, everybody, even we, were expecting, a blowout better than the first one. And it really wasn't.
I think it's definitely not Temple of Doom sort of sequel.
Oh, no, not at all. But it's no Empire Strikes Back either, yeah.
Well, I had sensory overload by the time I got out of there. Because
that movie's dense, yeah.
I was somewhere into the final act, was like, good grief, when is this movie going to end? Let's just wrap it up already.
It does tend to continue.
But I think that may have been indicative of the fact that I wasn't invested with these characters the way that I was the first time. And that may be linked to familiarity from the previous film.
It does breed contempt.
It could be the fact that there was so much spectacle and so many threads.
There was.
So many threads that in my perception, did not weave together to form a complete picture. But that's what we're here to talk about.
I can dig on that too. Like the whole thing where Thor storms off, and
God of Thunder,
and takes a bath in a pool with Stellan Skarsgård looking on in awe.
The music didn't quite fit the scene.
No, it didn't. But why? I don't get what that was. I mean, that literally, I shouldn't use that word. It made the movie come to a bit of a stop because Thor just vanished and then came back. It seemed like something that needed to be gone. Because it seemed like something that might be relevant to the next Thor film because he saw this vision of, Balder's, or not Balder, but Heimdall saying, "You're taking us to hell." Yeah. Well, so, I don't know.
Okay, well, let's think about where we left these characters before the Avengers Age of Ultron starts.
They were eating grokalash or whatever that stuff was.
Iron Man 3, nothing really significant happened in that film.
Oh, you mean The Adventures of Tony Stark and his sidekick Iron Man. Yeah.
With the amazing Pepper Potts.
Oh, she was, and is.
So nothing really came out of that except, and maybe you can clarify,
all right,
Tony gave up being Iron Man,
But didn't. I don't know how to interpret the ending of Iron Man 3.
No.
Doesn't he end it by saying, "I am Iron Man"?
Yeah, I think he will always be Iron Man. You know. Oh, by the way, and I was about to say something about the end of Avengers. So, are we doing spoilers or are we not?
This whole thing is spoilery.
Okay, so spoilery. At the end, when him and Cap are saying goodbye to each other, I don't think he's stopping being Iron Man. He's just not going to be in the Avengers anymore. I think, because Iron Man is the corporate symbol of Stark International. He's not going to give up the corporate symbol. He's going to keep the armor.
For the Avengers. He made that clear.
Yeah, and that's even true in the comic book. In fact, they were paid out of something called the Maria Stark Foundation, which was something set up by his mother, a fund set up by his mother that had gajillions of dollars in it, apparently, because I've never heard of it running out. In fact, it's, as far as I know, it's still paying the Avengers their $1,000 a week, which was what they made back in the early '80s. They mentioned it. She-Hulk mentioned she made $1,000 a week from the Avengers.
So Tony starts out in this film being Iron Man. We're not exactly sure the context of the arrangement. Like, okay, he's funding. I guess there are a lot of questions that the movie doesn't answer.
Well, yeah, he's funding it. I mean, he's the Queen. He supplied all their costumes. Like Cap had that new magnetic thing on his glove that sucked his shield over to it, so he didn't lose it. So, vibranium's magnetic now, apparently, so...
the end of Winter Soldier. Mm-hmm. Shield's in shambles. Well, there is no shield, basically.
No. Although I think we saw the rebirth of it in this.
I feel like, where's the connective tissue from where we left off to where we started? How much do we have to fill in? I mean, I appreciate that he lets us fill in things with our imagination, but there were huge questions about, okay, so the Avengers are functioning as a team. What brought them back together? The fact that they're trying to stamp out Hydra.
Yeah.
If there's no shield to... Did they all call each other?
They probably did say, hey, everybody, let's go stop Hydra, because Hydra's,
It's got the scepter.
Yeah, we got to find... Yeah, and they were, of course, looking for that. Of course, that was probably at the behest of Thor. Thor probably said, help me find it, and then they went,
I don't know. The film picked up in medias res, which is a good way to do it, but I was like...
Worked for Star Wars, but
they seem to be functioning so well as a team. Let's do this. Let's wipe it out. At the end of the mission. All right, we're good. We can go home. We can celebrate.
Yeah.
And then, oh no, we can't. But it's like, when did we get to the point where they were doing all that cool stuff and operating as a team? Because they disbanded at the end of the Avengers, and they're separate films.
Right.
There was no glimmer of the Avengers will come together.
I think,
boom, they're just there.
Well, I think what Jos was trying to do, I prefer the Scandinavian pronunciation of his name, was do, and this is something I like to do when I'm either writing a prose piece of fiction or a screenplay. I start off with the end of the character's last adventure, kind of like
James Bond
or Indiana Jones. It always starts with him finishing something off. Nice try, Plowshay.
What they were finishing off in this was very much tied to the rest of the movie.
Right. Well, the rest of the movie actually had nothing to do with Hydra. The rest of the movie was about Ultron, which came from the scepter, which basically their problem was Tony Stark's fault. I mean, it was his screw-up that caused the whole thing. But he did, I think what he was doing was that, but you're right, we had too much detail. When you end off the adventure, it should be the last half of the third act. We saw the entire third act of Avengers versus Hydra.
Despite there being a good chunk of it, a lot of the stuff happened so whiz-bang fast that I'm not a slow guy, but I was like, what just happened?
No, I am neither slow myself, so that sentence didn't make any sense. Anyway, I am not slow myself, and it was... I'm having a hard time quoting it. Because the dialogue was so dense. I mean, you know me, I like coming out of a movie with, hey, remembering the quotes. I can't remember a single thing except little snippets, because it was so much!
And there were a lot of snippets. I think the most quotable would be things that Ultron said, because everything he said had gravitas.
All right,
Even if it was petty.
Even if it was petty.
Okay, so...
Okay, let's talk about Ultron.
Up front, you from our last podcast, you sort of didn't really give it a rating.
No, I said and I will stand behind the fact that I said it, could be the best movie of the year. Well, it's not.
And I said it would be 4 stars, and I think I give it 3. I was
really you were
disappointed
well,
with it.
See, and it's like I said,
enjoyed it thoroughly, but I was disappointed
because it wasn't the It wasn't twice as good. You didn't like it because it wasn't twice as good as the first one. I felt the same way, although clinically I think it was better than the first one, but only by, like I said, if the first one was 4 stars, this one is 4.3 stars.
I think the individual character arcs in the first Avengers, it was all about coming together to form a team.
Right.
Agent Coulson died in order to galvanize them.
Right.
This film, they're already together operating, and then something big happens and they have to tackle that. Mm-hmm. And they all had their disparate threads, but I didn't feel that those meshed together.
No, and a lot of that was because there was too many characters. It's the Spider-Man 3 syndrome, where you've got too many villains.
What is Age of Ultron about?
What is it about? Philosophically, or just bluntly, it's about a robot that gets artificial intelligence, tries to destroy the world, and the Avengers have to stop him.
I'd say the first Avengers is about all these powerful people coming together to form a team.
To stop a big hole in the air, yeah.
Age of Ultron is a bunch of people
who are already together, coming together to fix a screw-up that one of their guys made.
I don't think that's an inaccurate statement, but I feel like I can't pin down what was this movie about. Is it about
So you're talking about a higher concept. You mean a high, like the first one was about the concept of the gestalt of the many the sum of the parts, or the whole being better than the sum of the parts in the Avengers case. And
right.
this movie did not have a high concept. It was just an action scene after an action scene after an action scene.
And there were hints of a philosophical difference, like Tony Stark doesn't know the difference between saving the world and destroying it. That was an interesting idea. It didn't go anywhere.
I think it's a false idea. He wants to save the world, and honestly, I think
Captain America can't move on when it doesn't have a battle. Black Widow can't have babies. There's no place for the Hulk to belong.
No, it's
Hawkeye risks his life because he's just an ordinary guy, and they need to be grounded.
No, actually,
there's all these ideas, and they don't connect to each other, or find some sort of complementary resolution or epiphany, even if they're separate. They're just
Black Widow's storyline is, I like you now. First it was, I like Cap. First it was, I like Hawkeye. Then it was, I like Cap. Yeah, well, of course, now we find out that can't happen. Although I liked it. In fact, I thought, in fact, I was a little angry because I thought, basically you've given Hawkeye a family and kids, and you're making us love him, so that way when you kill him at the end, we're going to care.
I thought he was going to die.
I did too. I was certain of it.
Which... Okay, I guess we're going all over the place.
We are. Okay.
There's so many feels.
I told you, folks, this was not going to be a linear process. All right, back up.
So I enjoyed the film a lot.
I did too.
I really did. I felt there was a lot going on, and that's why I was kind of overloaded by the time I walked out of the theater. I was like, that was so much stuff.
The dialogue was...
It was very much like a comic book because there was so much action, and there's so many cool things that Cap and Thor did together, combining their powers.
Sure.
And the action, the set pieces were visually captivating, but I felt that they weren't linked to something that I cared about.
Right.
Even so going back to the trailer, seeing the Hulkbuster armor and the Hulk, I'm like, Hulk's gonna be somehow turned evil again, and there's gonna be this huge struggle. Or Iron Man thinks that he has to take out the Hulk, but it was just a little skirmish relatively early in the film.
Yeah, it was, actually. Yeah, I thought there would be more pathos behind it.
It's super fun to watch.
Yeah, it was. Oh, no, the Hulkbuster suit finally getting to fight the Hulk was
great. And there were
great.
little bits of funny, too, when the rapid-fire fist, he's like, go to sleep, go to sleep.
Go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep. Yeah.
And then he knocks out Hulk's tooth, he's like, sorry. Or I think he said sorry.
Sorry? Yeah, I'm sorry.
So it was super fun.
Well, see, that's one thing Joss Whedon does.
Feel like it was tied.
No.
Did you feel that anybody was in peril?
It is so interesting. It's weirdly scary interesting. You mentioned that one of my roommates, who had seen the movie already as well, said that in no way during that entire film did he feel like Ultron was a threat.
That is one of the biggest problems they feel.
Yeah.
Concerning Ultron.
And he's absolutely right.
Because in the Avengers, the original Avengers, when the Chitauri are invading through the portal in the sky throughout the city, and you're like, oh my gosh,
we have a problem.
We've got 5 or 6 people, and this is what stands between an alien invasion in New York, and they can't even function together. They're a time bomb, as Banner said. How are they going to win? There's so much going on. And in this, I was like, there's so much going on, but I don't feel like any of it matters.
You don't feel like they're never out of control. because Ultron never gets in control. I mean, he's building, armies and stuff, but he's never
always building to something terrible.
Yeah.
And the threat is, well, going to wipe out human life. I mean,
Right.
you don't get much bigger than that, but the bigger you go, it's like the farther you get from meaningful. It's just
Right.
like
even in the origin scene for Claw, it was I don't know. You know who Claw is, right? Ulysses Claw. He's a Marvel character who
speaking of Dr. Claw from Inspector Gadget.
No, not Dr. Claw. This is just Claw, because his name is Ulysses Claw. It's one of the only superhero conventions I don't like. He has this thing where his arm used to be that is this vibranium deal, and he can control sound. He can make solid objects out of sound because he had his arm torn off. Wink, wink.
Would that be Andy Serkis?
Well, it is. It is because I saw in the credits his name was Ulysses Claw, and I thought, oh, that was Claw. That explains why he got his arm cut off. So he's going to be back.
That felt like such a disjointed part of the film.
It was a very disjointed part of the film.
No
other
pun
than
intended.
Right. Well,
Sorry.
Oh no, it's absolutely intended, John. I saw the twinkle in your eye when you said that. I know exactly what you were trying to do. But
a strangely violent point in the film, and the only one word that made me think, oh wow, it was violent.
Mm-hmm. I think they should have been given us a little bit more going, oh, this is the origin of, this guy's going to be back, because, have him say or do something that, this isn't the last of me, precious.
Amazingly, and not surprisingly, he dominated his screen time.
Oh my gosh, that's the size of your talent.
Would like some candy. It's like, that's a very simple line, but
well, that's the difference between a brilliant actor and adequate ones. And again, I think all of the Avengers are great, but Robert Downey's the only, and Mark Ruffalo are probably the only two brilliant actors in the whole mess.
I felt like Robert Downey Jr. didn't want to be there.
I did too. Yeah, he was phoning that in so hard. This is now what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is like the 6th time he's played Iron Man. And he's the kind of actor that wants to, plumb the depths of his soul and find new characters and do new stuff. I have a feeling he's really tired of Iron Man. And I have a feeling that we probably are going to get one more Iron Man show out of him. And that's, of course, going to be Captain America Civil War, because Iron Man is going to be in that. In fact, not to be a spoiler, but he's going to be the villain. But
I felt like I was watching a whole lot of characters spend time together without being together. It was an empty, lonely film, and I was more interested in Ultron.
Let's talk about Ultron a little bit.
All right.
Let's.
As a villain, wasted.
Very much. He
as an idea, so much potential.
So much potential, and as a performance,
tour de force.
Tour de force.
Everything
Spader
was just like he may have well been there in person.
Spader was the other brilliant actor in that film. I mean, the fact that, and he was nothing like I was expecting, because the only dialogue I'd heard from him was, "There are no strings on me," and I thought, okay, he's going to be this.
It's good when people don't just quote him, but they try to get the inflection also.
Well, I gotta. It's who I am, but he was so much more. He had that bit of Stark in him, and he was throwing, and he was funny, and I wasn't expecting that. He had a real developed personality. Wow.
I can't physically throw up in my throat,
but if I could, I thought, oh man, that's nothing like Ultron in the comic book. It's, I am Ultron, and you will be destroyed. Exterminate plan. But this guy was so much more. He was such a great villain, and he's not gone. He's an idea. He's a computer program. He is somewhere hidden in the Pentagon's mainframe, and he's going to pop out at Stark International, build himself a new body, and show up later. I mean, they may not bring him back just out of sheer hatred of me, but it's like he said they're bringing him back, so we're not. But it'd be so easy to bring him back.
But I think the fact that they created the Vision in this film while disposing of Ultron means that idea has run its course, and they're not going to revisit it.
Maybe. Yeah, given the way, because next one is the Infinity. As we saw at the end, next movie is going to be
Infinity War.
The Infinity War.
Part 1.
Part 1, yeah.
And I can't help wondering if Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is going to have anything to do with that.
Yeah. Well, I still think, and I'm going to go publicly on record, that Star-Lord is Thanos' half-brother.
Really?
Yeah.
They don't look anything alike.
Half. I did say half. I think because in the comic book, Thanos has a brother who is the superhero Star Fox, who is a member of the Avengers for a number of years. In fact, his name is, this is what I love about the symmetry, his name is Eros. Thanos and Eros, love and hate. Eros is love, Thanatos is, evil and good, hate and love, And Star Fox, he's not a great character. He's basically he's a hairstylist with some superpowers kind of thing. But, they're both from, in the comic book, Thanos and Star Fox are both from the Eternals that live on Titan, the moon of Saturn. Thanos' dad is the big muckety-muck of the Eternals on Titan. And whatever that counterpart is, I think that's what's going to end up being Star Fox's dad, because you already know you're going to bring them together. That the Guardians of the Galaxy are going to be part of this Avengers story. They've already said, we're going to mix them together.
Talk about too many characters.
So I think Star Fox is going to end up being Thanos' half-brother, and he's going to be instrumental in killing him. So I know the next Guardians of the Galaxy movie is going to be a prelude to
Avengers Infinity War.
To the Infinity War. It's going to be a prelude to the Infinity War, and then, everything else is going to combine there. So I don't know if the Guardians are going to be in the first one, or the second Infinity War movie, but the Guardians of the Galaxy are going to be in one of them.
Well, approaching Age of Ultron as a film, as opposed to
talking about the movies that are coming, which we shouldn't bother with.
Age of Ultron as a film, it's adapted from a comic book, but I think a film needs to be able to work as its own thing.
Yeah.
Yes, you adapt this, and you pull this, and you nod to that. But is it in itself, is it a film that works? Is it a standalone piece? Can it stand alone?
I think so. It's got flaws, and it's story-wise, it is a little loose.
How much do you need
deficient.
to know coming into it to know what in the world is going on?
So basically what you're saying is, if you took Age of Ultron, well, no, that's not a fair question. I was going to say, if you took Age of Ultron and brought it back to me when I was 15 and showed it to me, I wouldn't care what happened beforehand. I would be... there'd be drool coming out of my mouth. I'd be catatonic for days after watching that.
I don't think even the original Avengers can stand on its own. It needed all those films to build up to it.
You wouldn't have. You wouldn't have known any of the characters. One of the things that helped, like you say, one of the things that helped the Avengers is knowing the characters beforehand. Mm-hmm. So it was standing on the foundation of all of the movies that led into it, and Age of Ultron is standing on top of the first Avengers.
I see that it does in a strictly technical sense, but it doesn't carry forward any of the ideas that I don't know what I'm trying to articulate, except that it feels insular, and yet
and it's insular and standalone, but neither in a good way.
What I enjoyed so much about Winter Soldier is that it had a story unto itself.
Yeah,
There's
a good one,
a man
great
at a time,
story.
Which side is he on, and what's he going to do? And that had repercussions for the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Absolutely.
But Cap got a story that was about him and his place in the world. Mm-hmm. He was not shortchanged in the interest of establishing a future film. Because if you do all this work to establish a future film, and then that next film is fun, but doesn't go anywhere, and only sets up even more things, like when do you actually get to the meat of something? Yeah.
Or do you ever get to the meat of it?
Or is it all filler?
Well, I definitely... This movie shows, I think, that the Marvel Cineverse is at a turning point.
Indeed.
And they need to watch their step, because they're
no longer bulletproof.
No, they aren't. They used to be. But this was the Return of the Jedi. Not as good as what came after, but we still like it because it's part of the other two. Now, do you step into Episode 7 or do you step into Episode 1? And I think it is that clear cut. This movie, I think, is a little bit better than the first Avengers.
First Avengers was a lot of fun.
It was.
I didn't have nearly as much fun.
This one wasn't as much fun, I know. Joss may have been playing it a little safe. That's a good point. I agree. I think he might have.
I don't think they're going to hurt monetarily. I think this is going to be a smash.
Oh.
It already is, I think.
Yeah.
It was a good experience. It was...
Yeah.
But it's not a 5-star film.
No, it isn't. I mean, like I say, I didn't think this first Avengers was a 5-star film. I mean, as stated in previous podcasts, 5 stars. That's Schindler's List, Lawrence of Arabia. This wasn't that. It was fun though, and it was. I mean, of course, then again, like I always say, Maximum Overdrive is probably a 2, but I can watch that movie over and over and over again.
I would kind of like to rewatch the original Avengers now, but I don't really have a desire to rewatch Ultron.
I do. I want to see Ultron because I want more of that dialogue. And, dialogue is kind of my thing. I love dialogue.
Maybe we can get a cut of Ultron's best moments. Don't burden me with the rest of that film.
Don't knock it, but... so you really didn't like this movie, is what I'm hearing. I mean,
There were some serious plot holes, and
I agree.
I know plot holes in superhero movies are abound, but
sure.
There were some whoppers in this one.
Yeah. And from my point, or from my perspective, dialogue is one of my favorite parts of a movie. It's why it's dialogue. Good dialogue to me can make or break a film. It's one of the things. It's the thing I enjoy writing. So the dialogue in this movie was so good, it spackled over some of the holes for me. So I'm still, like I say, I'm still going with I think it's as good as the first one. Like I say, the first one was a bacon-wrapped filet mignon. This one was a bacon-wrapped filet mignon with just a sprinkle of blue cheese on the top. But again, I don't think the original Avengers is Shakespeare. It's
not. What is it, Shakespeare in the Park? Does mother knoweth you weareth her drapes?
Know you weareth her drapes? Anyway,
it's like, that's not. There's only one God, ma'am, and he doesn't dress like that.
I love that quote. There's only one God, ma'am.
I don't know. Maybe I do need to rewatch Avengers, and I'm waxing eloquent for no good reason. But I don't know. It was fun. I don't want to be too harsh because it's a comic book movie, and I don't want to deride comic books by saying there can never be a fantastic film. The comic books.
Superman. I'm telling Superman is a great film. Tell me that is a 5. That is a 5-star film.
It's a 5. But as a superhero film, it is subpar.
Superman.
It's a fantastic movie, and as a Superman movie, it's not. It's not a great Superman movie, but it's a great movie.
Get out of my house. Get out of my house.
I've just thrown down the Infinity Gauntlet.
Get out of that chair. Just leave your stuff. In fact, I think you need to take off your pants and walk out to your car and drive home.
Is it that time?
In humiliation.
Oh, this is good. We've
for what you just said. I ladies and gentlemen, you're witnessing. This is the last Cinema Filibuster. This is the last Cinema Filibuster. John has stepped over a line.
By contrast,
I'm kidding.
I think Man of Steel was a great Superman movie, but not a great movie.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I could agree with that.
I draw a distinction, and maybe that's a logical fallacy. But
syllogism is what they say in logical parlance.
Well,
a logician would call it a syllogism.
Somebody put their fancy pants on this morning.
I don't know. It's not my fault that I read. Come on. Read a book.
It reminds me of The Shadow. It's like, your mind is an open book to me. And then the Shadow's like, learn to read, and impales his head with a shard of glass. Did you ever see The Shadow?
Oh, I loved it. The Shadow's one of my favorite characters. I liked The Shadow better than I did Batman. And I love Batman, so...
knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men.
The Shadow knows.
Anyway.
I thought it was a good movie. Avengers, sorry. Never mind. We'll talk about this
together, doesn't
We'll talk about this later. Yeah.
After you've mopped the floor with me.
In fact, it's right. But in fact, The Shadow is right between Down Periscope and Rob Zombie's version of Halloween. It's stuck up right there, right behind your head. I can see it right next to your.
He's referring to his
right
DVD.
My DVD collection, which is right behind Dear John. And
I'm sitting in the seat of honor.
He's sitting in the nice chair.
And I'm besmirching Superman, the movie.
No, you're not. It's all right. No, I see. In all seriousness, I see your point. I didn't say I agreed with it. I just said I see your point. But yeah.
I'm judging Ultron from this perspective of, you're right, Avengers is not an amazing work of cinema.
Right.
But it is an amazing combination of these different characters coming together after several different movies, doing what the X-Men, I think, never achieved.
No, never. Which is a shame, because the X-Men are a good team, and I was always hoping for what the Avengers gave us out of the X-Men, but you're right, it never did happen, and that's why I've never been a fan of the X-Men series.
So, I don't know, I guess I'm probably not making a whole lot of sense, because this hasn't had time to solidify into a cohesive perspective.
Right. It's... The only metaphor I can think of, it's like a Jell-O mold where all the pieces of fruit are thrown in and they're all suspended very close to one another, but nothing, it's, you know, whereas the original Avengers was an apple thrown into the Jell-O and it's all there surrounded by it.
I'm hungry now.
Yeah, me too. I'm starting to get hungry.
But the more fruit that you have close together, the less Jell-O is, so there's less cohesion.
There's less, yeah. But you don't need as much. The closer the story is together, you don't need as much gloop around it to hold it together, as much spackle. Mm-hmm. And this movie did have quite a lot of spackle, but I enjoyed it because, again, the dialogue.
All right, so let's hit on some good moments, some not so great moments, and try to form a perspective so that we can do something with this podcast.
I liked the little bit of gleaning into Black Widow's past. Mm-hmm. Enjoyed that. I didn't. I like you now, Dr. Banner. That just seems that was too left field. I mean, I think
like Hawkeye. I was like, where did that come from?
Yeah, because I would have pictured her going after Captain America. Although I would have been better if they could have led up to it a little bit. You know, anytime a hot leather-clad spy chick loves a geeky science fellow, I'm always behind that story. And I think he's perfectly. I think he's a good. I think he and her do actually make kind of an interesting couple. I would have just liked a little more prelude to it. Maybe something hinted at in an earlier movie, like if Ruffalo had been in, you know, just a small scene of Winter Soldier or something with her in it, where they could have, you know, had a little bonding experience. Like, you know, they're held under siege, just them two, and they kind of do that thing where they ask each other 27 questions and then stare into their eyes for 4 minutes.
Okay, so...
But I like it, and I hope it continues, even though Dr. Banner just decided arbitrarily, me fly... No, the Hulk decided arbitrarily, me fly plane away, so me no hurt Black Widow.
Of the story threads, that one had the promise.
Yeah.
Seeing into Hawkeye's family. That was a neat
that came out of nowhere, but yeah.
That was neat, but it didn't have anywhere to go except for that comment that his wife made about feeling the difference of the skin that had been repaired and what is real man and what is artificial.
Yeah.
Which kind of hints at Ultron wanting to be a real boy.
Yeah, that's true.
But again, no real connections made. They're just, here's this piece, here's this piece.
Well, partway into...
See what we're thinking about, we're not going to tie it together for you,
right?
Because we don't have enough time in this movie.
Well, partway through Hawkeye's family, I started getting the feeling like, okay, I like this. It's, you know, in fact, when they started walking up to the farm in my own Mystery Science Theater way, I said, oh, the Kent farm. You know, Ma and Pa Kent will take in the Avengers. But when they walk up and I find out that, you know, I see Hawkeye has a family, you know, a beautiful wife, 2 beautiful kids, I'm thinking, you're going to kill him, and this is how you're going to make me care, you son of a...
What I really appreciated is the moment they gave him with Scarlet Witch, when he's talking to her about...
Yeah.
We're on...
Are you an Avenger? And, yeah.
Even before that, it's like, we're on a floating planet, we're on...
A floating city,
The city's in the sky, and I've got a bow and arrow.
I've got a bow and arrow.
It lends some perspective to the absurdity, the absolute absurdity of this movie's plot.
Yeah.
Like, I felt... Okay, flashbacks, derailing here.
All right, well, derail.
I had a terrible flashback
That's
to
what
Superman
lifting
a continent of kryptonite up into space and casting it away. And now Ultron is lifting up a continent into the sky to do something different.
Right. Oh, also, a bit of science for you listeners out there. This is something that, it's a curse to know, I mean, I'm not a scientist by any means, and I'm just a casual lover of science.
And a scholar.
I'm a casual lover of science, and the problem I had with Ultron lifting up the city and then just dropping it back on the planet, impactors, or, you know, meteorites that strike are called impactors. Impactors that cause problems when they hit are going 20,000 miles an hour. This thing wouldn't have. This thing would have achieved This thing would have achieved terminal velocity. You know, that's the fastest anything can fall with a gravitational pull. It would have just hit, knocked a big hole in the ground. It wouldn't have killed the planet. It was big enough if something that big hit the Earth, but that thing would have hit the Earth going 500 miles an hour, which is impressive, but something that big that destroys the planet, something that killed the dinosaurs, for instance, hits the planet at 20,000 miles an hour. It's like shooting a bullet into a plum. And this wouldn't have done it. And through the whole thing, I'm watching this city go up, and I thought, all you're going to end up doing is killing everybody. You're going to kill everybody in the city and everybody immediately below it. But it wouldn't be going fast enough. And again, it's the, that was a bad plot thing, or a bad bit of discontinuity that took me out of it. Well, not discontinuity, but just an absolute, that is scientifically incorrect. Completely. It wouldn't have been an extinction event.
He should have changed the course of the moon and had that impact on it.
That would have been harder. I don't know, but building an engine under a city, that one was kind of, wow, huh? When did he have time to do that?
Are we getting to the point where we're not willing to suspend our disbelief anymore?
I will suspend my disbelief when a story is so good that I don't care, and the things that are happening are so good that I don't care. And I guess in a sense, the stuff that was happening in this movie did not make me want to not believe that was not an extinction-level impactor.
Again, that felt so... Okay, so the trailer's like, I'm going to tear you apart from the inside.
Yeah.
How does he do that? He doesn't.
No. Scarlet Witch was trying to, and he was using Scarlet Witch to do that, but that petered out.
But he wouldn't have, because she came to him.
Well, that's true.
Ultron was in the church, and they sought him out.
Right, that's true.
What was his plan to make the Avengers pay before he had them helping?
And I did think it was cute when they walk into the church. He's got this crimson thing over him, and Ultron's first appearance in the Avengers was as a character called the Crimson Cowl. And at the end of that episode, he pulls off the thing, and it's Ultron. So it's the robot I created, and the robot in the comic was created by Henry Pym, who was
the elder Ant-Man.
The original
That's not
Ant-Man.
easy to say.
The elder Ant-Man.
Was he your elder or your
great
uncle
Ant-Man? Yeah, my great Ant-Man. Uncle Man. Uncle Man. I'm going to make that up. That sounds good.
The Man from Uncle?
The Man from Uncle.
Starring Superman?
Starring
and
Superman.
The Lone Ranger?
And the Lone Ranger.
That's how I refer to actors these days. Oh, yeah. Did you know Iron Man's going to be in that movie?
Yeah. Yeah, sadly.
Wolverine and Maximus in that singing movie?
Maximus Aurelius. Husband to a slaughtered wife, father to a slaughtered son. But I use Prudential for my life insurance needs.
For this life or the afterlife.
For this life or the afterlife. What this parrot did in life will echo through eternity.
That was, if Russell Crowe did the dead parrot sketch from Monty Python.
What this parrot did in life.
That's so cool. I alluded to some plot holes earlier, and I didn't follow up on that.
Yeah.
Hawkeye, super secret, home with family.
Yeah.
Nick Fury shows up.
Nick Fury knows everything, though. Nick Fury knew. Nick Fury had to know. He would know if you got family. That was terrible. I will never do Samuel L. Jackson again. Not without using the F word. And I'm not going to drop it. This is a G-rated podcast, so no F-bombs.
Also, Nick Fury shows up at the 11th hour.
Oh, yeah. With a helicarrier, yeah.
Then he pulled out of storage.
Pulled out of mothballs, wasn't he? You know what? I got a little bit of a yeah for him there, because
Thor shows up where the Vision is, and he's like, I'm going to bring him to life. I didn't know you had him. I didn't know where you were. I didn't know what your plan was, because I left the farm.
He did, and he went and saw something about Asgard, and all of a sudden, well, no, yeah, see?
He left the farm.
What it needed, he left the farm.
He jumped the shark. He left the farm.
He jumped the shark. What we needed, I guess, was a scene where pixies come to Thor and say, it is an infinity stone. You must bring the droid to life. By the way, there is a droid. There is a droid, and it is the one you're looking for. Oh, God. Oh, boy.
Okay, so...
boy.
It was just... I don't know. It's like, and like you said,
if we keep talking, it's gonna turn into a 3-star film for me, because I keep thinking about it. Goes, yeah, you're right.
I don't want to tear it apart from the inside, but that's what I'm doing, because I felt the insides were hollow.
No. There is a quote from Mel Brooks, and he once said this he said it to Gene Wilder when Gene Wilder was writing the script for Young Frankenstein. You take your script or your story and you smash it, hit it, bang it, pound it, and whatever falls off, you leave off. And that didn't happen to this. If this movie had been, because if you do that, and what he's essentially saying is, you mercilessly cut this thing. Any piece of fat that doesn't need to be there, you mercilessly hack it to shreds. And then whatever's left, if there's not enough for a story, then you didn't come up with a good enough story. And then you take what you have left and build on it, and you keep doing that until you have enough of a real story. That didn't happen here. This movie was a first, maybe a second draft. Which is, of course, shows how brilliant Joss Whedon is, because if as a second draft...
if he crapped it out, it would still be at least a 3-star.
Oh, yeah. But it wasn't hit hard enough. It wasn't beaten, and all the extraneous stuff that didn't make sense was not knocked out of it.
And I wonder how many of his...
How few?
He has 2 hands. His hands were probably tied in some way, knowing that we have to set up the Infinity Wall.
Yeah, I bet that's true. I never even thought of that. Yeah, I bet.
Introduce these characters.
Yeah, really.
Marvel plans things out so far in advance, which is to their credit, but it also forces them to kind of go through the motions. Do this, do that, get these characters here, and that's what I see in this film. It doesn't leave room for the real story, and that's the movie part of it that I think is missing.
You know what they could have done? And I think you're right. They made a movie about the interim bit between 2 movies. What they should have done is moved back and had the Avengers versus Hydra. And then at the end, he create Ultron. And then Ultron happens.
And it's a cliffhanger.
And you bring it, and at the end, and between Ultron and this, you bring in the new Avengers. And then you prologue, or in the movies, in the Captain America movie, the Iron Man movie, the Thor movie that come, and I would like a Hulk movie, honestly, but I read somewhere that may not happen because of, again, the Hulk as a movie character is owned by a different studio, and they won't let them use the Hulk for anything but an Avengers movie. They won't let them do a standalone. As far as I heard, I don't know how true that is or what that is. But anyway, you set up the new Avengers in the interim films, and then the new Avengers, you just go into it with Vision, War Machine, and the Age of Ultron is with them.
With the Avengers.
Right, and I think they made the Avengers movie, they scooted it too far, and it bridges they've got 2 Avengers movies that this movie is in a place that bridges the 2 movies that should have been made.
And I agree with you. Even this sounds like the mechanics of plot. Where is the story?
Where is the story? And I think we missed it. I think basically it's the end of a movie, a lull, and then an entire other movie crammed into one space. Because it does feel busy. I mean, the movie is super, pardon the pun, busy.
It gets a lot in there, but I left feeling like I've just had the buffet and I loved it all, but no one thing really stands out as the main course.
Right. I've just had the buffet, pardon me while I go puke.
I had too much, and it was delicious.
It was delicious, but
I didn't know when to stop.
But she's coming back. She's coming back, Captain. Yeah. I hope it tastes as good the second time around. And it never does.
I think that if they wanted to, and I moaned about this in the first Avengers. I was like, Cap kind of got shortchanged thematically. But then he got the Winter Soldier. And
oh, boy.
Good. And I think that if they want to give 1 or 2 characters, they could easily focus on Tony Stark and this desire to protect the world, thinking that he won't always be around to protect. He's just a man. But if he can take a page from Batman's playbook and become more than just a man, if he can somehow create an artificial intelligence that is him and has his sensibilities, that he can keep the world safe. If he had already been working toward, or spent a portion of this movie working toward an artificial intelligence, then that would have brought up some interesting questions about how does artificial intelligence judge between right and wrong, and what does it mean to be human, or what does it mean to be fallible. They could have pursued that and had the creation of Ultron been something floated and developed in the story while have some other villain. I think they could have used this as development of a future Ultron story, rather than, boom, it's Ultron.
Well,
where'd he come from?
What would have been interesting?
Von Strucker, I guess.
Baron von Strucker, who was a cool villain, and then they killed him off. I was like, I rather always kind of liked him. It comes to mind, what would have been cool is to have Ultron be kind of almost an innocent at the beginning, and him and Stark interact with each other, and he becomes a villain because he sees...
He's allowed to develop, and he should have been functioning as intended, and then kind of, by being so human-like, kind of turned to his evil, flawed nature. and fallen.
And not
grace.
just, I'm alive, I'm a villain, let's go! That was it. I mean, there was
It was very entertaining, but he arrived fully formed, even though he's upgrading his body. And there's a hint when Smeagol, Andy Serkis, whatever his Claw,
Ulysses Claw,
and he says, "You're just like Stark," or something to that effect, and he gets all angry and like, "Okay, why is he angry about this? Let's explore this."
Yeah, and they never did. That would have been great because he's like, I'm not like my dad.
And why is he building a body? Because the human race has to evolve. Why? Because deep down, Ultron doesn't know. Well, one of his first questions to Jarvis is, "Where's my body?" or "Where's your body?" or whatever.
Yeah,
he has this human-like consciousness to him, and he's grappling with, he could be grappling with what it means to be alive without a body.
The movie happened so fast, it trampled over good story that we could have had.
I would like to have seen Ultron as the villain of Iron Man 4.
Oh, yeah.
Give Tony Stark a real enemy.
Oh, dude, that would have been... All right, ladies and gentlemen, I guess I'm going to have to drop it back to a 3 because honestly, I can't argue with any of this stuff, and it really belays my earlier statement.
And Loki, we already had from Thor.
So we already knew him. Yeah,
he didn't have to build him up. He was there. And there was hinting of what's this guy behind the curtain or behind the chair, like, ooh, which is nice because you set up for the future and you don't have to use that villain.
Right.
Maybe Loki wasn't enough of a threat, but he was...
Well, he had an army of behind him too, so with giant space whales. I was hoping that giant space whale, armored space whale skeleton thing that Stark found was going to, have Ultron make that thing and have it pop out. Only it's a vibranium Ultron space whale. Wow, I really just said that? Anyway,
in the first Avengers, there were subtle undercurrents of Thor being a god and Captain America saying what he did when he jumps out of that plane.
Yeah.
And then when Stark flies into the belly of the beast, he says, "You know the story of Jonah," or whatever it is. And
I really wouldn't advise this.
They're just these little hints. And then Coulson saying, maybe we need some of that old-fashioned stuff.
Yeah, we need some little old-fashioned nowadays, sir.
God and country or what have you. Oh. And Ultron he was in a church where they found him.
Yeah.
He talked about
it being
God.
It's being because everyone needed to be close to God.
But that didn't connect with anybody else. It could have connected with Cap when he told him, "You're a soldier. How can you be a soldier without a war? Or you're looking for a war, or trying to imagine life without a war, or something."
Although one thing I will say about him, though, about the sound of his voice and the way he talked. I now want to see a reenactment of the Lincoln-Douglas debates with Ultron and Bane. I am Abraham Lincoln. Let's talk about it.
Necessary evil. Nobody cares about me and I put on a mask.
What did you just say?
Exactly.
Something about a bass.
Nobody cared who I was until I put on a mask.
Until I put on a mask. Yeah, but anyway, yeah. I like the way he talked.
You'll never see it coming. Even Ben Kingsley's Mandarin could have been a fantastic villain who was squandered.
Don't get me started on the man, because Ben Kingsley's Mandarin was some serious, scary stuff, and then he turned out to be this fella here. Oh, no, I'm just an actor. No, please don't shoot me.
I felt that lady with the skin grafting cybernetics corporation or whatever.
The South Korean Dr. Cho.
As soon as they were patching up Hawkeye, she said something about, well, if we were at my labs, in 20 minutes it could be done as good as new.
Yeah.
I knew that was
a foreshadowing.
Subtle, like,
writing in on a board. This is coming next!
It's like Prometheus, like, somebody's going to have to heal themselves in this personal rejuvenation chamber.
Or cut something out of themselves. Ooh, I still hate that scene. Yeah. God, that
was more gross than gruesome.
Yeah.
Gruesome, I think of, like, I'm invested in it. It hurts me to watch because of the character. In this case, it was just like, that's gross. I don't care about her.
Gross is clinical. Gruesome is poetic.
Mr. Hastings, I'm going to hug you.
No, hey, don't let a table between us stop you.
You forgive me for my Superman comment?
Of course.
I love Superman the movie.
I know you do. So, I mean, good grief, as I recall from a former video cast of yours, that not liking Superman is a hit the road for girlfriends. So
this is true, and my lovely lady is a big Superman fan.
Oh, good. So. See, that's.
It was written in the stars.
What more can you ask for, my son?
I will have been dead for many of their years.
Many of their years. Thank you, Godfather. Kal-El, you come to me not as a friend, but you offer me money to commit murder. You do not show me friendship.
For this reason, above all, I give them you, my only son.
And then it pans over and we see a suitcase. And anybody, if you've seen the making of Superman, you understand that joke.
Avengers, Age of Ultron. So much anticipation, so much riding on the shoulders of Joss, and it's not fair, to be honest.
No, it's not.
He pulled a rabbit out of his
I think he
first
did,
time.
and honestly, I think he did fine with what he was probably given. Because I think you're right. They probably set a lot of. We need to see this. We need to see this. We need
what
this.
can happen.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't talk about the death of one of the Maximoffs, Quicksilver.
Oh, yeah, Quicksilver.
And how pointless that was. It was the most meaningless death I've seen in a Marvel film.
It was. Although I do agree with him. You didn't expect that. Nope, I didn't. I honestly thought that Hawkeye was... In fact, I thought, oh, this is it. This is where Hawkeye gets killed. And honestly, I would have probably enjoyed it better.
I would have had some real feels because even though he was so shortchanged in the original Avengers, and I think the actor, Mr. Renner, Jeremy was very upset about that. But they gave him so much in this movie that I felt like he was trying to apologize for the previous film.
Well, in fact, what I was thinking was going to happen, I thought, Hawkeye had the kid, and I thought Quicksilver was going to run past him. He was going to chuck the kid to Quicksilver. Quicksilver was going to grab him and be out, and his hand was going to go back to try to grab him, and it was going to be a...
There's no emotional payoff for his death. A character like that cannot die.
In fact, he was a punk. So I thought
he's a speedster. He should have
went around the bullets. Yeah,
gone around the bullets, brought them both to safety. I don't know how strong he is if he has augmented strength.
No, his legs are in the comic book. I mean, I can't speak for this character, but in the comic book, he had his legs could leg press 1,000 pounds or something.
His body wouldn't have stopped the bullets. You see him standing there with whole puncture marks on
big
both
holes
sides
in
of
him.
his body.
Yeah.
He's a character who runs super fast. His death meant nothing. Why did that happen? Is that meant to do something for Scarlet Witch?
Well, yeah, it was probably to turn her into the hero she is today.
She made that decision before his death.
I'm interested to see if they follow through with, in the comic book, Scarlet Witch and Vision get married and have kids. So I'm interested to see if that progresses, because I thought it was interesting they brought them both in, and he saves her at the end, so I thought, okay, this is probably going to happen then.
I will have to say, despite the film being overcrowded, I liked the Vision. He was represented very well.
He's a great... I'm looking forward to seeing him again, definitely.
He felt alien, but friendly, and good, but mysterious, and childlike, and even the line that he had, well, I was born yesterday.
I was born yesterday, yeah.
I don't know. I want to see more of him.
I do too,
but not at the price.
And I want somebody,
film.
and I want somebody to make some joke about him being the Human Torch, because I don't know if you're familiar with that. That's
the original Human Torch was
an android back in the 40s who fought with Captain America and Prince Namor, and Ultron used that robot body to make Vision. So they're not going to go that way, I'm sure. Of course, I would love Captain America to look at him and go, weren't you on fire last time I saw you?
Didn't I see you in a test tube?
Didn't I see you
at the World Fair where Tony Stark had the elevating car?
Right.
He was there. He was there as an Easter egg.
That's true. It really was.
In a test tube.
From, in fact, that scene was from, it was from the original
comic book. And Jenna Coleman was in that scene.
Was she?
She was one of the girls. She was with Bucky.
Oh, that's right. Oh, my gosh. I got to rewatch that. I haven't seen that in such a long time.
I didn't know who she was at the time. I looked at her IMDb cast. It's like, Jenna Coleman was in...
Captain America.
How did I miss this?
Chomping bubble gum, because that's what Americans do.
Toward the end of the Avengers, once it's public that they exist, it's hard to mask the alien invasion, but they defended the people. They got shawarma at the end. And you see a bunch of newsreels of people running around as Thor and Iron Man and Captain America. Even Stan gets his cameo like, costume heroes are running around in New York City.
That's stupid,
The world knows about the Avengers. If not by name, it knows about them.
Yeah.
In this movie, the Avengers exist, but we don't get a glimpse of the public perception of these heroes running around. And I thought there was going to be some of that so that they could set up the events of Civil War and Captain America 3. There were no government types. There wasn't any public perception of, go Iron Man, or go Avengers!
Go Avengers,
or whatever.
Yeah. Right.
I felt disconnected from the world that they lived in.
Yeah.
Again, that idea of being insular, all these things, all the destruction they caused, and yet where's the thinking man on the street perspective of this is the amazing world I live in? I guess we got that from Hawkeye.
Right.
But we didn't get it from outside people.
And
I have a question. The people that go to the party early on in the film after they've destroyed Hydra, what was it a party for? Yay, we've destroyed Hydra. Stan Lee, you and your cronies can come in here and celebrate with us. What was that for?
Well, it's because I think I think the weeding out of Hydra should have been a movie by itself.
Was that huge public knowledge and people wanted to celebrate there? Were those the loyal
Avengers,
people?
No, I think the Avengers I don't think it was a public thing. I think the Avengers just threw a party and invited all these people to hang out with.
We're having a party at the Avengers Tower. Be there. I mean, you don't question it in the movie because, they finished their mission. Time to celebrate, revelry or something like that.
Yeah.
They said a few times.
Yeah, but they invited people to show.
It's a minor question.
All right, if you got a thing in mail,
there's the letter A on the tower.
John,
they're not operating a secret.
Dear John Selsbach, you're cordially invited to a party at the Avengers Tower.
Yeah.
Are you coming?
Of course I'm coming.
Then get your butt off the bed and get there. I mean, I think that's, would you say why? Why are they throwing a party? This is questionable. No, you just go.
I'd like to know what's going on. It's like, am I invited to become an Avenger? Are they going to tell us about their future plans?
Well, obviously.
Government figures going to be there to hear about operations? And are the Avengers a threat? Do we have to fear them? What's going on in this world?
Right.
No questions answered.
None. You're right. None.
Am I too needy, Sean?
You are. But...
Am I asking too much?
No, you're not. You are too needy, but you are not asking too much. You're not asking too much because these are questions that I would have liked to have had answered too. Okay, I'm changing it again. 3 stars. This thing, no 2s.
No. I'm not trying to poison the well here.
I'm still going with 4.3 stars.
I'm sticking to my 3 stars. I still enjoyed it. There just wasn't. There's nothing in it that I want to see again.
Right.
If it was just like, there's some flaws in the movie, but it's just so gosh darn fun.
Yeah.
Then I'd say, boom, 4 stars.
I guess we've pretty well successfully macheted the corpse into chicken salad. So let's sum up. Let's
I don't
sum up.
think I could do any better if I was given this monumental task.
John, I don't know that you couldn't. So
I would have taken it in a different direction. Then people like, oh man, why did he go in that direction?
Why did he do that? Who is this guy, John Selsbach? This is stupid. He's stupid.
He gives too much attention to Cap or to Tony. I was glad that Thor did have some more stuff to do in the film. I just wish it made sense.
I wish it had more bearing on what happened. Yeah, that whole thing where he showed up and gave.
Now, was he trying to destroy the mind gem? Because I couldn't tell.
No, he wasn't trying to destroy it because the whole thing, because Vision was able to pick up the hammer. That means he's noble, so he's okay. Which means Vision could go rule Asgard if he wanted. But
what did Thor know about?
Well, see, that's what I mean. We're missing a scene where a bunch of fairies hover around his face going, protect the Vision.
He saw a vision. We had glimpses of it. But did that vision say, you should go to Tony Stark's place?
Oh, no,
They're
not at all.
trying to revive this body.
No, it didn't. And that was a big... All of a sudden, he's just there and it wasn't enough. Overall impression in one sentence...
Good, not great.
Is a fragment. So that's pretty sad. That wasn't a sentence, but all right, we get you. A phrase. Okay, let me change it. Okay, a phrase. Good, but not great.
I enjoyed Age of Ultron, but I was disappointed.
I guess I would say it wasn't what I was expecting, both in a good and in a bad way.
Well, you're convinced that Ultron could come back.
Actually, if... And this would be impossible to get approval from Lucasfilm, but if I were going to have Ultron come back, I would have him show up at a high school science project where a kid invented not an artificially intelligent processor, but the kid juiced up a processor. Ultron ended up into it it was hiding there off the internet, and he put it basically into an R2-D2, and have Ultron make his debut as R2-D2. Because a kid did it, the kid's a Star Wars fan. He did R2-D2, and Ultron,
And Disney owns Star Wars, so they could have done it.
Oh yeah, that's right. Oh yeah,
no
do
right
it.
Standing in the way.
Do it, Pruitt.
All right. Well, I think that we have
eviscerated this film.
We have pulled it apart piece by piece. If
piece.
not in an orderly fashion, then in a disorderly. But collectively purposeful fashion. I'm just making stuff up now.
Yes. But hey, so was Joss.
Thank you, folks, for listening to this extra special long podcast.
Oh boy, thank you. We hope you're still listening to it. I'm actually would be kind of surprised if you are, but for those of you who stuck through, thank you.
I'm pretty sure that we've said some things that you don't agree with, and we would love to know your disagreements.
Troll us, folks. Call us names and tell us what kind of idiots you think we are.
If you're listening to this at YouTube, use the comments section and say something. Let us know.
Let us know.
And
hit like, for God's sake, even if you don't like it. If you don't like it, hit don't like. But do something for the love of Mary Margaret, who is a friend of mine.
Until next time, I'm Jonathan Sulzbach.
And I am Sean Hastings.
Wishing you a Merry Christmas.
Well,
I'm so discombobulated.
I'm hoping this podcast will be out before then. But
I thought the Pinocchio references were going to be more meaningful.
Right.
Sorry.
Okay, that was it. Okay, that was a dead stop. No, we got to end it right. You have to say.
And adios.
Color us gone.
And now, the credits. Intro music by Henry Kadib. Outro music by Matt Steiner. Show concept and creation by Sean Hastings and Jonathan Sulzbach. Find us on iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, and of course, cinemafilibuster.com. Leave a comment at any of those venues and we'll read it in a future episode. Thanks for listening.